What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Expected Bets. On today, we got a two-part episode for you. We're breaking down the games for January 26th and January 27th, so a little treat for everyone today. Before we get into some news and notes around the league, let's bring in the rest of the crew. Betzky, how we doing?
We're doing pretty good out here. It's been an interesting couple of weeks. I had a killer week last week, and then ever since like Friday, it feels like we may have hit that all-star break wall. So it's time to zag a little bit. So I'm sure we'll be bringing up some names that aren't the chalkiest ones out there on today's show, huh?
Yeah, agreed. Franco, how we doing out there in Philly? I see you repping the jersey today.
Yeah, man, going old school here. So, yeah, man, feeling kind of good. I guess trying to get through this kind of up and down. I feel like I've been more up and down as opposed to what Betzky said, where he had the hot streak and then hit a little wall. So I'm trying to figure out how to put two wins together. You know, it's like have a great night and then just give it back the next day. So,
well, I've been doing that too, but luckily I had about 4 great nights and 3 bad nights last week.
Yeah, see, that's good enough. You know? It's like it's a pain though, man. And like you said, with the All-Star break coming up, it's gonna get funky.
Yeah, you guys got the consistency of the Buffalo Sabres. Jeez. Can't string 2 wins in a row together. Before we get into the games for January 26th, which is Friday, let's talk about a few news and notes around the league. So obviously, I think the last time we recorded the podcast, this news didn't happen. Patrick Waugh takes over for Lane Lambert in New York. Interesting move. You kind of saw it coming here. He won his first game, but then the Islanders dropped their second here. Any thoughts on kind of the locker room change up in New York?
I thought it was crazy how that line was minus 155 on the Islanders money line, just based fully on the coaching bump, right?
Yeah.
Like what have the Islanders shown us that they've deserved that number? And I get it, but against VGK off that bad loss.
Yeah. On a 7-game road losing streak.
Yeah. Like I wanted to take the Islanders just on the surface, but then when I saw a number, I'm like, I can't touch that. There's no way in hell. So it was kind of predictable that they would drop that game. It's going to be interesting to see if they do get the bump regardless, right? Like if they if they go like 7-3 in their next 10 or something like that, then it's still an effective bump. We'll see. But I think they need a change. But this team's just, I don't know, man. What can you really change from this team without infusing new players?
So
I feel like it's been the same team for so long.
Yeah.
And that's exactly my thought is when I heard the news, I was like, oh man, that's exciting. And then I kind of let it sit for a moment. It's like, but it's the Islanders. Like, that's not the team that you want to see, kind of a run and gun, very eclectic coach for coaching. But I don't know, maybe he'll bring a different element to them. But, or, you know, if they miss the playoffs, maybe we see some big changes and they start leaning more into speed. I mean, they've been shooting a lot those last 2 games. I'm very interested to see how they fare against Montreal tonight. Obviously, tons of history between Raw and the Canadiens. So maybe the team will kind of step up and give them a really valiant effort. But yeah, I mean, to me, it's like exciting for Barzal. It's exciting for maybe Wahlstrom if he comes back and he gets a second chance. But the Hal Clutterbucks and Brock Nelsons and Anders Lees and Palmieri's. I mean, I feel like those
could, in theory, do stuff with that, though.
Yeah.
As pieces. But you got to move on from some of them, for sure.
I would have to agree.
I mean, it was interesting, too. In his first game coaching, they played Dallas. They won it overtime, but they were significantly outshot 28-43. And then in the second game, when they lose to Vegas, they completely dominated the play. They won the expected goals for battle. They outshot him 42-27, but Hill just stood on his head. And I mean, at that point, there's really nothing else you can kind of do. Those games happen. So it'd be interesting moving forward. Their power play is an absolute mess. I don't know if he's got any cure for that moving forward. And it doesn't seem like, I mean, looking at their past few games too, I mean, it's still kind of a low scoring affair in Long Island. It doesn't really, like, they don't really seem like much change. So like you said, it'll be interesting to see this team moving forward from there. Other news and notes: Corey Perry signs a 1-year deal with Edmonton. Franco, you had mentioned tonight, they're obviously facing the Blackhawks. He's not in the lineup, unfortunately, but would have been a fun spot to hammer him.
Oh man, I would have bet everything.
Hammer them,
Power play point, goal prop, 2-goal prop. Like I don't even care. Give me all of them. It would have been fun. It would have been such a fun storyline. But yeah, unfortunately, he's not. I guess he's probably like not in shape yet, right? Like he hasn't played in months. So I don't know. I don't know if I like it for Edmonton. I guess he's a guy that will give them some depth scoring, I guess, because that's really their issue. Getting those guys to score besides the studs on the team has just always been the problem. There's the flashes from the McLeods and those guys, but they always have those like 4-game streaks or whatever where you're like, oh, they're getting some depth scoring, and then they go and disappear again. So maybe Perry can be that solid guy, but I mean that guy, can he even skate at this point? He's just like kind of a big body that stands in front of the net, right, on the power play, and they don't even need power play help really when it comes down to it.
He went from Chicago's second line too, so now he'll probably be more of a third or fourth line role for this team, which probably suits him better, kind of given the state of his game at this point. So I don't know. We'll see moving forward. I don't know. Betzky, have any thoughts on it?
I mean, I don't mind it. I think this is a team that at this point is looking for at the playoffs, and I think he can bring a lot of experience and grit when they're going to need it. I mean, what else are they going to do? They're pretty strapped to the cap. So yeah, I think for a move that probably brings a lot of value for what they pay, this is fantastic for them.
Yeah, that part of it for sure. They can't afford anything else. So yeah, he definitely adds value in that sense.
Yeah, agreed. A few other notes. Obviously, we touched on this before. Aiden Hill returns to the Vegas Golden Knights, which is huge for them, kind of given the workload that Thompson had before. The All-Star break's coming up, too. We touched on that, too. That's the February 1st to the 4th, so stay out for that. And then the other thing, too, Carter Hart, Dylan Dubé, Mike McLeod, Cale Foote. 4 of the 5, those players are out indefinitely. In terms of the NHL, given the World Junior incident. So something to monitor is there as well. I think Carter Hart's kind of the big one here for Philly. Franco, we touched on it before. So Ursan's going to be the number 1 goaltender for a while. Any thoughts on kind of how he can handle that workload, or just kind of given the state of the netminder situation in Philly?
Yeah, I think it's rough. He was playing very well in that kind of 1A, 1B role with Hart. And I know a lot of fans in the city were kind of saying he had overtaken Hart for the number 1 job. But I think having a guy with him that can play more than just 1 game a week and take 1 game off of his schedule is going to be big for them. So, like you said, we kind of talked about this before, but I think they need to get like a veteran in, and they just really need to determine what they believe this team can do in the playoffs. Really, I mean, they're in the playoff hunt. Obviously, they're towards the top of the division, which is crazy to say at this point of the season, but they're there. And can they compete in the playoffs? I don't know. That's yet to be seen. But I had thrown out the name Mike Smith when we were talking before the show, and as a funny kind of joke. But in reality, I feel like that's the type of guy they need, and I think Betzky agreed with me about it too, because it's like.
Yep.
He could pick up 2 games a week for this team and be relatively serviceable. And I know like we have our jokes about Mike Smith and his struggles in Edmonton and all that, but he's a veteran. He can pick up the workload. He can probably get you some wins. And I think with the system in front of him, I mean, maybe he could work out. Not necessarily him, but a guy like him is what I would look for if I'm Philly.
Hey, he took Edmonton to the conference finals that year, and they beat Calgary when Calgary had Matty Tkachuk and Johnny Gaudreau and were a powerhouse. And I believe he had a shutout or two in that run too, or something crazy at like age 41. So I don't know. I'm in agreement. If there's one guy you take the risk on, it's somebody like Mike Smith. He's got an attitude.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got kind of a short temper. He kind of fits in with what Torts is kind of building and the culture in Philly. And I mean, you got to think him and Torts would get along, and why not?
Yeah.
I mean, as long as he's in game condition, why not? He's an ultra competitive guy.
Him in Philly
kinda
would be
surprised,
would be must
Carolina
watch.
Yep. Oh man, it'd be amazing.
It would be that would be great. And we talked about too. Peterson too, the backup now for Ursan, only started 2 games this year. So again, his workload's going to kind of jump through the roof as well. He just got recalled from the AHL. So
yeah, I just don't think they
on.
have that confidence in him, So
No.
I don't think Ursan's going to work if you're going to have him play 4 out of 5 games in a week or whatever the case is. He needs to be closer to even split.
So obviously the trade deadline's coming up too in March. Does Philly now become kind of on the hunt for a goaltender if this situation really doesn't develop, or it's kind of stagnant for the next month or so?
I offer you Vejmelka for your first.
I don't think Vejmelka has like any value anymore, man. He's kind of killed his value this season.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, I wouldn't mind a player like him as well, like depending on the price, right?
Yep.
It's all about what
too now. Saros has been rumored for years.
Yeah, see, like I don't want to pay that. Like you're gonna have to pay for Saros. I wouldn't mind Vejmelka if it ends up being for I don't know who
Dardish.
Something like that. I would do that. But that's why I threw out the Mike Smith thing, because it's essentially free. I don't want them to like abandon the rebuild essentially and start trading away picks and pieces because they need a goalie now. It's not worth it.
But Eric Comrie.
Think he's
been pretty decent in the AHL. That's all I'm going to say. He's been pretty decent for Rochester.
Roll the dice.
You can take him off our hands. I think also too, we talked about Werenski coming off IR as well, and other news and notes, which is huge for Columbus too. He's kind of been injury ridden the past few years, and as we've seen too, when he's on that team, he makes a huge difference. And I think he's playing tonight, right?
I believe so. Yeah, I mean that's huge for them. It's like the difference between what they have on defense and then adding him. He creates offense. He plays pretty sound defense. It changes everything literally for them. So big gain for them.
Yep.
It's pretty much all I got to. Any other news and notes that you guys have?
The Kings, man.
Yeah.
that is spiraling completely out of control.
Yeah, we get to talk about them in the breakdown. So, but yeah, I mean they don't look good at all. I think they're a team that's looking forward to that break.
Yes, I would have to agree.
I think everyone's got a separate vacation scheduled to a different part of a warmer climate outside of LA. I don't think anyone's really buddying up. That's pretty much all I have too. Oh, newest expansion team too just proposed Utah,
Salt Lake City.
Yeah,
crazy, man.
I mean, that's where I keep on getting worried that Arizona would go if we can't figure out an arena thing, and this may be.
Do they really need to expand though? Do we really need more teams?
Well, there's only 25 U.S. teams, Franco. So yes.
We need more U.S. teams for some reason.
It's going to be crazy to think that the NHL will potentially be the biggest league as far as just sheer number of teams, but then at the same time, you have a whole country's worth of additional teams that most other top U.S. sports don't have. So
I just worry about the quality of play. Like
I do too.
Like you look at the Blackhawks right now, that team is just. I mean, I get they have injuries and stuff, but come on, man.
Mm-hmm.
You add more teams, it's kind of water down those teams towards the bottom of the league that don't have the money.
I agree. It's a little bit of a scary thought of how important drafting will become, and And like, what is the quality of those third and fourth lines at some point here? I mean, and like third pairing defense units. I mean, are we going to just have half teams being half AHL teams? But at the same time, you see some of these drafts and the kind of the quality of kids coming out of them too. It's, I don't know, maybe just a sport that's growing and more people can become pros. I guess we'll have to see.
Yeah, it's also going to dilute the other teams as well too, which is going to hurt a few, like most of the other teams too. We saw with Vegas what the kind of product they put together, even Seattle too. Like some of these guys on these other teams play a pretty decent role on that second and third line, and they're just going to get poached. And I mean, Vegas within 6 years wins a cup, so
yep,
it's crazy. But yep, we'll move along to the games for tomorrow, January 26th. Here with the first one up, we have Vegas at the New York Rangers here. New York's a home favorite, -155 on the money line. Over under set at 6 here. Juice the under, -122. Hill, obviously, like we said before, returned to the lineup, was great in that matchup. Vegas 6-3-1 in their last 10. New York's coming off a bad OT loss to the Sharks, which wasn't good at all. They're kind of on a little skid, 3-5-2 in their last 10 games. 1-3 on their most recent road trip. Their offense has just kind of struggled as of late. Good news for Vegas, though, is Karlsson, Theodore, and Eichel are all slated to return in February, so it should be interesting to monitor this team kind of following the All-Star break. I mean, before the kind of the slew of injuries this team's had, they were by far, in a way, the best team in the NHL, and it kind of looked like a repeat here, so that'll be interesting. This team did play once before. Vegas beat them 5-1. So I'll start with you here, Betzky, in this one. Any looks in Vegas, New York?
Yeah, New York's been interesting. I'm
very.
It seems like they've gotten worse since they've gotten players back, but it could also just be that they've insert people like Kakko again into the lineup, and they're trying to figure out how all the pieces fit and rebuild kind of that chemistry. Or we're seeing a team that really had been putting the pedal to the metal and now are kind of hitting a wall, getting this deep into the season. But coming off a long road trip, I will probably lean Vegas here. Mark Stone's been something else. I know he missed his point prop last game against the Islanders, but before that, he was on a huge run. He's really been kind of propping the team on his shoulders to some extent. I know they haven't had too much success on the road, but as far as just kind of producing and carrying the team along, he's kind of been that guy. So that being said, his point is a nice little parlay piece, but Barbashev is the kind of left winger on that top line, and he's been hitting pretty frequently recently. I don't have the exact numbers right in front of me, but you're still able to get him at kind of that even to -120 number, it seems, if not even more into the plus money side of things. I believe he had a point against the Islanders, and that's a guy I'm kind of ready to ride a little bit here, especially if we're going to be able to kind of take advantage of a New York team that may be a little bit tired doing a cross-country road trip. Obviously, they'll be motivated, and they probably want to flush that Sharks game down, but Vegas also probably wants to string some road wins together. So I don't know which team's going to be more motivated. I kind of want to take the Vegas team that's already on the road trip and wanting to beat one of the colossal teams in the league at home.
Yeah, I mean, Vegas obviously is not traveling far. They played in Long Island, so short ride for there. And yeah, you mentioned that second line for Vegas has been red hot. Barbashev, Roy, and Marchessault all are averaging over a point per game in their last 5. So they've been great for them. Rangers are interesting too. I mean, Shesterkin has his struggles this year too. Hill returns. I don't mind the under in this. I think it's going to be a low scoring affair. The Islanders have played, or the Rangers have played much better at home this year too, much tighter game. So I like the under at 6 here. But Franco, any looks for you in this one?
Yeah, I think another thing, you were talking about the scheduling as far as them coming back from the road trip. They have to travel to Ottawa the next day. So I don't love the spot at all for the Rangers. If anything, I'm looking at Vegas for sure. And I think, again, you have to factor in this all-star break. So I think they probably are looking more like a team that is ready to get to that all-star break and kind of relax, get some practices in, figure out how the lines are working out, like you said, Betzky, and just shut it down. I mean, you're definitely not probably excited to have to face Vegas off that road trip and then have to go to Ottawa the next day. They're probably just like, let's just get this over with and let's get into the break and be done with it. So, I mean, you're getting Vegas at plus money. I'll take that for sure.
And Ottawa's been looking a little bit better. I know that they aren't necessarily getting wins, but man, you better be able to score at least 4 goals if you're going to beat them right now.
Yeah,
which
Ottawa's
is not that hard to do apparently.
Too.
But I mean, if you're not ready to unload on a team, like, you're going to get rolled over by them. So I don't. It's a ugly spot.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the player props, though, I agree with you on Barbashev. I'm going to be looking at Nick Waugh, though, as well. I would expect him to probably be the best price, right? So Marchessault is going to be like minus 200, minus 180, whatever. Barbashev hopefully should still be under minus 140. I'm thinking minus 120-ish. Mm-hmm. But I could see Waugh being plus money. And if they're all involved, he's going to be involved as well. All of them have great numbers against the Rangers historically. They all popped that last game as well, and they're all red hot. So I'll probably look at Nick Waugh there.
Yeah, no, I like that look for sure. Next game up, we have Florida traveling to Pittsburgh here. Pittsburgh home dog in this one, plus 105. Over under set at 6.5 here. Pittsburgh's coming off an 0-2 road trip. They're 4-2 in their last 10 games. Jari's really struggled. Florida snapped their 4-game losing streak and has won their last 2 in this one. So another interesting matchup. These teams did face off last month where Florida beat them 3-1. In terms of home and away splits, Florida's been pretty solid at home or on the road, 15-7-2. Pittsburgh 11-8-2 at home here. So I'll start with you, Franco. Any looks in Florida Pittsburgh?
Yeah, this game on the surface looks like it should be pretty high scoring, I would guess. So I like goals here, but I'm probably looking more on the Florida side. I just feel like they get Barkov back. They looked amazing last night. I get it was a bad spot for Arizona, and they're just not that good on the road when it comes down to it. But, I mean, there were stretches of that game where Florida just looked dominant, and I think they keep it rolling. I think they're really confident right now. Yep. The big guys are scoring. The big dogs are all playing great. So, no reason to get off a Reinhart goal prop if it's still plus money. I keep betting it, and I keep being surprised every single time that I'm not seeing minus 110 or worse. It just keeps hitting, and there's no reason to stop. So definitely looking there. One I wanted to pull the trigger on yesterday and didn't was Verhaeghe assist. He's been getting a ton of assists, and that line has been super productive. I would almost argue that is like their most exciting line right now. Bennett, Verhaeghe, and Tkachuk. Tkachuk's been picking it up as well on the goal scoring department. So that might be my kind of value play because I think it'll be a nice plus money price getting Verhaeghe assists there. And Barkov assists as well. Looks great. Yep. So with his history, 8 assists and 7 against them. So, I mean, you can pretty much pick any player on those top 2 lines and probably be feeling good. The one off that I'm going to probably go back to is going to be Evan Rodriguez shots, though.
Oh, okay.
I bet him that last time against them. He did not get there. He had a shot blocked in like the first 35 seconds of the game, had another miss and a couple more blocked. I think he had like 4 or 5 attempts. So I'm going back to it. Screw it. It's revenge. He's returning to Pittsburgh too. And his 2.5 is going to be plus money. He's had 3 and 4 shots his last 2 games. He's flying. And he's been on kind of like a cold streak as far as goal scoring. He's goalless in his last 12. So I think he's like feeling that kind of a little bit. And why not against his former team? Come out, play hard, get some shots, and maybe even get a goal. We'll see.
Yeah, no, I like that look a lot too. And I agree with you on Florida here. I mean, their offense has just been incredible. 6-4-4 in their last 3 too. And they've been pretty good too. Pittsburgh's also been pretty bad defensively, 5-3-3-4 goals against. in 4 of their last 5. So
well, and in fairness, one of those goals against was by Malkin against Arizona. So you may need to adjust that one to 3, I believe, or maybe so.
Maybe he bet on himself for anytime goal scorer prop.
Yeah, he's like, well, clearly I'm not going to get.
I'm not hitting, so let me dump one in my own net here. That was a wild sequence of events too. Trying to drop it back to Letang.
I don't remember the last time I've seen an own goal.
You just
like
don't
that.
mess around like that. You don't mess like when you have an empty net. You don't mess around. They were messing around and they.
Yeah,
silly.
That was brutal too. And obviously, you mentioned Reinhart for anytime goal scorer, and his shots on goal prop, I think, goes without mention too. He's just been unbelievable. Pretty much the last 20 games, it seems like he's just kind of hit at an insane rate. So, but as we mentioned too before, I mean, when he started that streak, you could kind of get him around a little bit plus 105 plus money, and now it seems like it's around that minus 130, minus 140 mark that everyone's kind of just started to hammer it at this rate. So. Could be a parlay piece that we use tomorrow, but the last,
Oh no, just agreeing with you.
Yeah. I mean, the last game we'll touch on for Friday here is going to be Los Angeles at Colorado here. Pulling it up now. Colorado is a home favorite in this one, minus 142. Kings are plus 120. Over under set at 6 here. Kings just on an absolute skid right now, 2-8 in their last 10. Colorado's the exact opposite of that, 7-3 in the last 10. They've been red hot. The Kings defensively, or Colorado offensively has been great. In the last 10 games, has been averaging 4.5 goals for, which is insane. And then they've scored 6 or more in 3 of their last 4. And they go up against this Kings team who's just reeling right now. So minus 140 seems a little low, I guess, kind of given these two teams. I would expect this to be maybe around minus 160. So something to note there. But I'll start with you here, Betzky. Any looks in Los Angeles, Colorado?
Yeah, I'll be interested to see what the team total is for Colorado. The other one I would kind of lean on, maybe it's even the puck line. This Colorado team is a monster at home. Very different team on the road, but they can really punish opponents at home. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the altitude, as they always say, but it's definitely a Jekyll and Hyde type situation with the Avalanche. We talked about it at the start of the season. We were worried about LA's goaltending situation, and here we are. I mean, relying on Talbot and Copley was probably a scary situation going into the season, and Phoenix has been out for a little bit now, right? Is he still out?
Yeah, he's still out.
I think not having that solid 1A, 1B type situation where you can roll out either of them is really wearing down Talbot. And this is an older team for the most part, don't forget. I mean, Kopitar's been around for a long time. Doughty, who are 2 of their biggest names and strongest pieces. So I really like Colorado being able to take advantage of that. I'll probably lean into that puck line as a potential straight or that team total, or maybe even just use the money line as a parlay. Another parlay piece, though, without talking about the big 3 names in Colorado, is Kopitar point or Kempe point. Both have hit just about every single road game they've played this season. I think they are hovering around 80% after missing against Carolina on a 5-goal LA King performance. None of them they didn't really need to do anything, and neither of them hit. But I think it was Kopitar had only missed 2 up until that game, so maybe he's at 3 on the road now. And Kempe had missed only 1 or 2 more games on the road. Both were pretty cold once they got back to that homestand. I think both had missed points in 3 to 4 straight, and then both kind of got the monkey off their backs last night. But I like them to kind of continue chugging along on the road as a nice parlay piece. I'm sure Kopitar's point will be more at that minus 160 area. So you even get a little bit more value out of that, where Kempe is probably going to be closer to the minus 180 or so. Colorado do allow a lot of goals, so they are not having the best goaltending luck either, but kind of like Ottawa, they can outscore people. So
yeah, I mean, any concern too? We touched on a little bit in the news and notes, but Doughty coming out and basically saying that some players on this team are more concerned about their own individual points rather than kind of getting 2 points for the team here.
Yeah.
They could be fired up for this performance here. I mean, McClellan came out and said it's on him, but this team just seems like it's in kind of shambles right now.
Yeah, I'm not too concerned about that. I mean, we've seen statements like that happen. I mean, there was the one with Colorado. Geez,
Yep.
Rantanen's dad, was it? Called people
Yeah.
out? Or was it Lekkonen's dad? One of the NN's dads.
One of those
one
guys.
of the Finnish players' dads did. But if I remember correctly, nothing really changed the next game, and it was during a little bit of a slide for Colorado. We talked about it before the show, before recording. It does really feel like LA needs to get to this All-Star break ASAP, kind of like the Rangers. Yeah. And I know they've been kind of switching up the lines. I know Pierre-Luc Dubois was on the top line recently, and they went off last game, so I don't know if that helped, but I just feel like this is a team that needs the break and potentially a coaching change, which I know there's been some rumors floating around about too, rather than their captain or Doughty, assistant captain, calling the players out. But you never know. Maybe we'll see an uptick, but that honestly gives me more confidence in the Kopitar Kempe lines of their points for on the road.
Yeah. Franco, any looks in this one?
Yeah, I mean, I would only go Colorado side. Getting that minus 140 seems pretty cheap to me. I guess you could make that argument, though, that sometimes when the players make a statement, you actually do see a bump. So maybe you look like King's first period or something like that. I don't know. But player props, I mean, Rantanen, Makar, McKinnon, I think you can make a case to sprinkle each of them at 1.5 points. And then just you're probably going to at least go 2-1 and probably sweep it. So, I mean, their histories against LA are insane. Like you said, LA's goaltending is finally showing its cracks. I feel pretty happy that we got that one right, because we were looking bad to start the season. I mean, I think we're all
didn't make any sense.
Down on. I mean, they have such a great forward group, and their blue line's not that bad either. And it's like that's who you guys chose as your goaltending. I don't get it. And Rich was their third, so, and he's getting run now. So it's just ugly, man. I mean, that I can't believe that was their decision. And I get it that Korpisalo got paid in Ottawa, and they probably weren't going to be able to keep him around, but they need to do better than that with this forward group, because I like this Kings team, but yeah, the goalie's not going to help this team, and those guys are going to feast in this game tomorrow.
Yeah, if Riddick starts, I just have that history of him when he was on Nashville and Colorado swept him in the first round there, and I think they put up 7 on him or something. Just ridiculous, too. They just absolutely killed him. So interested to dive into his history if he does get the start here, but should be a good one. Moving on to Saturday here, that we got a 12:30 game here, Franco, a little afternoon party in Philly. Boston's traveling to Philly to take on the Flyers here. No odds out yet. Boston does play tonight versus Ottawa. Boston's been pretty hot. They've won 5 of the last 6 here. Philly, on the other hand, is on a little 3-game skid. Start with you here, Franco. Any looks in this one, or kind of how you feeling about this matchup?
Yeah, I mean, I don't love it. In general, I don't love betting these early games. It seems like weird stuff happens. So maybe the Flyers will win somehow. But, I mean, on the surface, to me, it's like you look at how Philly played against Tampa Bay the other day, and they ended up pulling tight when everything was said and done, but Tampa really outclassed them when it really came down to it. Too many penalties, too many mistakes cost them that game, and I think if you do that against Boston, you're going to be in big trouble. So I don't want to bet a side here, but Pasta, man, 24 points in 12 games against Philly.
Jeez.
Including 15 goals, 9 assists. So lock in all your Pasta props. I don't care what it is. I'm pretty sure his shots against them, too, he's had some pretty crazy ones. I would have to check his more recent ones, but pretty much all pasta props look great against them. He has 9 power play points against them as well. So I know Philly's penalty kill's been better, but Tampa kind of put an end to that the other night and just made them pay every single time they went to the power play, it seemed like. So the other one I'm looking at is Marchand for a goal. He doesn't have the best goal history against them, but he's closing on a milestone. I was looking at some milestone props for nice games, and he's 5 away from 400. So I know historically he's loved playing against Philly. He has 4 goals in his last 3, showing that he's clearly got an eye on that number. So I don't mind that too if I can get some good value there, because obviously pasta prop is going to be probably minus 110, minus 120.
Yeah, minus 110.
Yeah,
I think.
I'm probably still going to bet it though.
Yeah, it's almost like a point prop for him.
Yeah, it is what it is. So I mean, maybe you pivot to that power play point. Maybe you go to his assist prop, or maybe you can do his over 1.5 too. So I think you can't really go wrong with pasta tomorrow or on Saturday, and maybe sprinkle Marchand goal as well.
I like that. Betzky, any looks for you in this one?
Joel Farabee's been fantastic for Philly, man. And that point prop is finally getting to that point where you can't really take it as a straight. It seemed like it was hovering in that plus money to minus 120 forever, though. But I think we may get some extra value because it's Boston. I definitely kind of want to see how things shape up for Philly tonight against Detroit. This is kind of that spot where, with all the goaltending news with Carter Hart and just kind of that news in general, you just kind of want to see how the team's going to react. I almost hope they kind of get beat up tonight and come home and want to, get a win back against Boston, not a division rival, but a rival nonetheless, as an Eastern rival, and I kind of want to see that top line rolling again. Connecting shots is much better at home than away too. He's been bumped to 3.5, but I generally don't mind that at home. I'll need to see if he's got a good history against Boston, but those would be kind of the 2 pieces I'd look on the Philadelphia side. And a little chalky, I know, but with Tip It Out, it's really kind of made things a little interesting. And then Cam Atkinson at home has been fantastic too. He was at some point this season 70% at home. I think that has dropped a little bit now, but he seems to always bounce back once he gets back home. So
he's been better recently in general too. I think since that benching, he's been responding. His point prop looks really good as well in this game. Actually, I forgot about that. Along with his shots, I don't mind. He actually has a decent history against Boston too, believe it or not. So 5 points in 3 games and averaging over 4 shots a game against them. So both those props are not a bad look.
Ooh, and he's 69% at home. So
nice.
I
don't mind the over in this matchup here too. Looking at Philly's last few games too, they've given up a ton, especially at home here, 6-5 and 7 here, and even Boston too. They've been leaning more towards the over as of late here as well. And then going to the goaltender matchup too. So Swayman's starting tonight versus Ottawa, who's been much better of the 2 as of late. Allmark's given up 3 and 4 in his last 2 starts. So even if Philly kind of struggles a little bit offensively, which they've kind of done in the past few games, but I think they've still put up 3-4 in each game. So I don't mind the over here. I'm guessing it's going to open around 6. So,
and Cal Peterson's maybe in net for Philly too, right? I mean,
so
that's huge.
Be interested to see if that over does open at 6. You can grab before it moves to 6.5 too.
I like that.
Yeah, so that's probably going to be where I lean in this matchup. Next game up here, we got Nashville at Edmonton. Edmonton 27-15-1, and on that 14-game win streak, closing in on number 17 to tie the NHL record. They've already bested the Edmonton Oilers franchise record, which is insane too, given kind of the history of that franchise and those teams they had back then. Nashville on a 2-game losing streak, 5-5 in the last 10, just kind of muddling around in this one. Few props that I do like here. Both these teams are playing tonight. Nashville versus Minnesota in Edmonton versus Chicago. So assuming everything goes correctly, Edmonton's going to beat, yes, as it should. Edmonton's going to beat Chicago, move to 15, and then they'll face Nashville for 16, which again at home should be another one that they kind of take care of. So something to monitor on that one. I'll start with you here, Betzky. Any looks in Nashville, Edmonton, besides pretty much the entire Oilers kind of big five here for points? That's kind of what I have circled right now. I mean, Kane, Draisaitl have been great. McDavid and Nugent-Hopkins. Pick your poison, I guess.
Yeah, and I mean, we got to highlight one of them. Isn't Draisaitl versus Nashville has been unbelievable.
It's actually a holiday.
Yeah. And I think he missed last holiday, right?
Yes,
he did.
He has 24 goals and 15 assists in 25 career games against the Preds. And so you're going to see it all over Twitter. You're going to see it all over the place. But I mean,
don't want to miss out on the fun.
I don't know how you don't take it. I think no, you can't. I mean, this is definitely a FOMO bet, but over the past 3 seasons since I've been capping, it's made me more money than it's lost me. So I'm going to write it again. Draisaitl's been a little bit cold this season, so just kind of keep that in the back of your mind. They've played already twice this season too. So October and November, Draisaitl had 2 goals and 2 assists in the October game, and a big whopping 0 and -2 back in November. So I think if this streak is still going on for Edmonton, and again, they're playing Chicago tonight, so it should. I'm going to load up on the 2 points and multiple goals and call it a day for this game. It's just absurd. I mean, even a hat trick, maybe something worth a sprinkle. He's had 1, 2. He's only had 2 against the same team, but he's had a lot of multi-goal performances.
Yeah. Franco, any looks for you here?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's obviously Draisaitl is the main play here. I don't want to rehash anything you said, and I think Edmonton having that drive is the main thing here. We're not seeing a team that's went 2-2 in their last few games, and they're just coasting in the All-Star break with no kind of incentive to play better. So I think you just keep it going as long as they don't lose tonight, obviously. But on Nashville side, I kind of like Yossi assist probably is what you're gonna have to do at that point. But he's been red hot, and decent history against them as well. 7 assists in 8 games. So if you're inclined to look on that Nashville side, that's either him or Forsberg, obviously. But I think you're gonna see some pretty good value on Yossi assists tomorrow for that game. So
is anyone going to touch Chicago money line tonight? I know
that's what I was going to bring up.
It'll be coming out tomorrow, but it's like 450.
So that was my next question was too. So Edmonton's -625 in the money line. Is this the largest? Is this the heaviest favorite we've seen all season?
It has to be all season.
I think it is.
I saw that it was the heaviest in like the last few years as well. So, I mean, Chicago can't score right now. It's pretty impressive. So,
and the over is at 6.5. Juice to the over. So is Edmonton? Edmonton's just going to put up 7 themselves.
That might not be a bad luck.
You really wonder what the team total.
Can you do? Yeah. What's the alt? Can you alt team totals on that certain book?
Couldn't you see a game where Edmonton loses 1-0?
On FanDuel, you can.
Yes.
Or on DraftKings, you can. It's over 5.5 plus 205.
That's it.
Yeah, over 4.5 minus 110.
You need 6 goals to double your money. Nah, I'm not doing that.
No, it's not worth it.
No, that's insane.
No,
I'd be more inclined to bet the under, to be honest.
I'd be more inclined to bet the Chicago money line.
Yeah, you might as well bet Chicago and regular.
Yeah, that would be something. I mean, listen,
they're not going to win.
You're probably the only guy who's on it.
They're not going to win.
I'm telling you, if you're gonna bet a big dog like that, just take him in reg. There's no reason to take him going to overtime. You're gonna be pulling your hair out when that game goes to overtime, watching Draisaitl and McDavid skating around the ice. With that ticket, no way in hell.
Gets radish,
Just kill me. Kill me in reg.
You think
Oh, man.
Picard can pull this one through? I'm going to see how my bets do. I may sprinkle a little of
That might be a fun late night bet for sure.
I like
Where's
the reg
Chicago,
idea.
where's Chicago in reg though? That's got to be like plus like 800, right?
I
No,
mean,
it's not
even
even-
plus 2.5 is even money for Chicago. So in regs, it got to be insane.
plus 550. I thought it would be better than that. That's still pretty good.
They're
Yeah.
not going to win in overtime if it gets to
Yeah,
overtime,
no, if it
so.
goes to overtime, they're done.
You can do a draw, no bet. Chicago.
That's how I would do it. Because then you get your money back if it goes to OT.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll wait for that tweet in about an hour.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
I'll see how I'm doing. I agree with Betzky.
Yeah.
If I'm doing good
Yeah.
tonight, what the hell? Let's do it.
That could be yeah. If you guys do well, you might see an expected bets for group parlay on
Sure.
the on Chicago draw no bet. But moving along here, so the next game up on Saturday we have Toronto at Winnipeg. These teams just played on Wednesday night with Toronto beating Winnipeg 1-0 here. Both goalies fantastic. Samsonov plus 2.88 goal saves above expected. Brossoit plus 1.9 goal saved above expected, but looks like we're going to have a little change up here. I'm sure the goaltender matchup is going to change especially for Winnipeg here. Obviously, my bet here, Winnipeg money line, probably going to be around 130 maybe, but I like Winnipeg here. This is just kind of the system I've had for a while. So that's my play. Franco, any looks for you in this one?
And real quickly, the system is you go to the opposite team in these back-to-back.
And the back-to-backs. If Team
Yeah.
A wins, you take Team B in the back-to-back games. We just saw it happen in I think Minnesota
and Winnipeg, actually.
Yeah.
So, and just to clarify for listeners, it's not a team playing 2 games in a row. It's the same 2 teams playing at each other's homes.
Home and home.
And
Yeah.
like
in
the
a
2
relatively
game
short
span.
period.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it's very common. I agree with you there. I don't think that Toronto had the best game overall. I know they started out pretty slow, and I mean, for that game to be 0-0 going into overtime is just blows my mind, to be honest. I mean, I didn't bet the over or anything like that, but at least on the surface, it feels like it should be closer than over, especially with Brossoit in that. So, and the goal that Toronto scored in overtime was kind of not even. It was weird, right? Like I feel like Brossoit got over and it still like got by him. So I think I lean Winnipeg as well. But if I'm betting anything, probably I'm going Matthews goal. I think depending on the value you're going to get, I know it's not going to be great, but he's just been insane. And I think he has that drive to keep going, even though we're going to the break. But I'm going light on this game, I would say.
He has a great history against Winnipeg too. It's both on his shots and his goals, if I remember correctly. Let me check his goal. But
yeah, 10 in his last 13. So he definitely as far as goal prop. So I like it.
And I don't mind some of these players that are potentially going to win awards, just continuing to hammer them as they get closer to All-Star break. Matthews is in the lead right now for the Rocket Ricard, so that's the most goal scorer in the league or of the season. Kucherov and McKinnon are kind of fighting for the heart. Kucherov just had like a 4.9, right?
Yep.
McCarr is probably now, is he the Norris favorite now after last night?
Hughes.
He had a 4-point night last night. Hughes is still the favorite.
He's been steadily increasing, though, getting ground. Hughes has kind of cooled off since his early start.
So there's definitely motivation for these guys to keep on going. I mean, you even kind of see it with Panarin a little bit. Seemed like he was slowing down for a moment there, and then he kind of bounced back and got a goal against the Sharks. So, I mean, it's the Sharks, but you know what I'm saying.
What about Hellebuck for Vezina?
Yep.
I mean, he's minus 110 right now. He's the favorite. He's been unbelievable this season. So anytime you can get him at home, especially, I don't mind taking that. Betzky, did you have any other looks here, or kind of that was it?
I like that Matthews look. Kyle Connor shows up against the Maple Leafs too. He had 4 shots in the first period against them in this last game. He's got a better home than road split, so I don't mind that. he's a little bit streaky, but he had that injury that he's only played, I think, 4 games now or 5 games since the injury, and I think he's hit in all games but one. So, of course, that was the game I took it, but
As
That's how it works.
Yeah, but I kind of talked about this a little bit earlier before we started recording, but I like these players that are kind of trying to make up for lost time too. So Kaprizov's coming back from being out for a while and had a slow start. He's been on fire. Kyle Connor now is kind of one of those players that seems like he's coming back to a team that has done everything they could to keep on winning games without him. And it's kind of like these players are, making sure they don't have a crappy year just because they got injured.
I mean, Connor and Trocheck are going to replace Eichel and Bedard in the All-Star game. So,
that's interesting.
Just kind of a news and notes there. But anything else, Franco?
No, that's all. I saw some people bashing the Trocheck move, but I mean, he's had a great season. It's kind of flown under the radar. He's almost a point per game.
Wow.
That's deserved.
Last game on the slate that we'll talk about for Saturday here. We got New Jersey at Tampa Bay. New Jersey plays tonight versus Carolina. Tampa Bay plays tonight versus Arizona. Tampa Bay has just been red hot, 7-3 in their last 10 on this one here. They've also been just unbelievable at home. So I'll start with you here, Franco. Any looks in this one?
Yeah, I'm going to go to Foley probably for a goal or a point, depending on where I can get the line at. I know he's hovering around like minus 130 tonight. So if I can get him at that tomorrow, I'll definitely take his point and maybe sprinkle the goal. But Tampa at home has just been so good. I get the Jersey's been better for their standards on the road. So maybe this will be a pretty exciting game going both ways. Looking at Hagel, though, on the
agreed. Hagel point.
Yeah.
Betts, any looks for you here?
Yeah, I like that Toffoli one. He's had 10 shot attempts his past 2 games. I think you were saying he's getting close to a point milestone, or goal milestone.
Yeah, he is 1 off of 500 points. So if he doesn't get it tonight, I'm unloading tomorrow on that or Saturday on that. So for sure.
Yep. And I feel like that win against Vegas the other night where both teams, like every time Jersey would tie it up, Vegas would score again, but they eventually took it. I think that was a big confidence boost for the Devils offense right now. So they've been without Jack Hughes for a while. Timo's been kind of in and out of the lineup. Heischer was injured at one point. They've really had huge injuries all season off and on. And it seems like this top 6 is kind of clicking right now with the makeup of it. So I kind of like the over here.
Yeah, I was just going to bring that up too. So Dawes is starting tonight. Vanacek will probably start versus Tampa Bay here. They've been rotating. Vanacek obviously letting 5 goals against Vegas, but he hasn't been awful.
No.
But Johansson's probably going to start for Tampa Bay. Vasilevsky he goes 3 games, so there you go, right there. That I think that's probably the play here too. And even looking at Jersey's last few road games too, there's been a lot of goals scored. So I like that look for sure.
And I'd probably look at the top 3 guys, 1.5 points for Tampa, especially if they stack the line. So Stamkos, Kucherov, and Point. It's not as reliable as the top 3 in Colorado, but the second line, that Hagel line with Nick Paul and I forget who's centering them. Anyways, they had been kind of picking up the slack for Kucherov going a little bit cold and Stamkos going a little bit cold, but Kucherov is coming off a huge night. Yeah, I think he could really spank the Coyotes night too, and he may be able to string three consecutive games of hitting 2+ points. And if you want to dabble in the other 2, you're going to get a lot more value on points, 2+ points, or Stamkos's, even though they're going to be a little bit more risky. But
yeah, I like that look for sure. Franco, anything else to add?
No, I think I'm pretty good on that game. I like that over though. I feel like fading Vanacek is just a very profitable strategy at this point right now. He doesn't look good.
Yeah, especially adding Johansson to that equation too, and seems like a prime goaltender matchup to take the over here. All right, you guys.
The day before it moves. I think a good way to go.
Probably open at 6.5 though, don't you think?
Yeah, but I could see it being 6.5, like minus 105 plus money, and then being minus 140 by game time, or moving
once the goalies are confirmed.
Yep.
That makes sense. All right, you guys want to shout out your socials one last time?
Yeah, Franco the Banker on Twitter.
And I'm Gretzky Betzky is on Twitter and part of the Parlay Science Discord.
Awesome. As always, you can find me on Twitter at Gator Betting, and be sure to follow our podcast at Expected Bets. We will have our parlay out tomorrow, and along with our 3 best bets. I think maybe we'll do something Saturday too, since we've already broken down the slate. We'll throw out 2 parlays depending on how hot we get. But we appreciate everyone for listening, and we'll see you guys next episode.